I made this hacksaw a couple seasons ago and used it as part of my summer demonstrations as an audience prop. I give it to them and they can pass it around and play with it. And we can talk about some of the things that blacksmiths do besides make swords. And now somebody wants to own it. They're going to display it in their house. They want to put it up on the wall. And I have to make a wall mount for it. So we'll start off with that cedar board, came out of an old fence. Clean up the backside here, just sand it, a couple of passes. Doesn't have to be beautiful, it will be concealed. Just needs to not have splinters. I'm going to leave the front side rough. And my woodworking skills, I will admit, are exactly what you would think of from a blacksmith. I can cut it, I can sand it, and I can burn it. Yes, blacksmiths have fireproof hands. In all seriousness, this technique has some kind of a name and a long history, and I'm sure I'm doing it wrong. But I've had success with this method. It looks really nice against a handmade iron item. So char it, scrape off the loose ash, wash it off. I'll just let that dry for a little while. And now I'm going to make some washers. When I started making these washers, I was going to make half-inch standoffs and screw through them. And that's kind of where I start here. This is the only shot of my anvil. Just get a center mark, drill a screw hole. Yep, machining metal is not as fun as blacksmithing. And I'm not sure why I thought half-inch standoffs would be a really good idea. But I changed my mind right after I cut them. And did not get any footage of me cutting them down to slivers, but you can see in this section of the video that they are only about 3/32 of an inch thick. I'm going to weld those on to the back side of the hacksaw. And go back to the wood. And here that plank has been drying for most of the afternoon in the sun. And I'm just going to scrape off all the char. And that's what we're left with. Burning it like that and then scraping down all the char raises sections of the wood or sections of the grain and pushes some sections back, and also gives that really pretty color. I don't know of any other way to get that. And this is linseed oil. Just adds a warmth to the wood. Does some other things, but I'm using it to make the color a little more warm. Rub that in. And try and show it off. Didn't work. And while that oil is drying, I'm going to put some of this finish wax on here. It's black shoe polish or shoe cream. I'm not sure if there's any difference between shoe cream and shoe polish, but the label says cream. I'm not looking for a uniform surface. I still want this to have some kind of a used patina, but I do want it to be a little protected. And the wax will keep that. And it'll also allow highlights to come through. So this looks like a natural age patina. after the wood dries. Just lay out the screw holes, make sure everything's centered up. Now we're going to go mount it, and I'm just going to put a wire on here just like you would any photograph, painting. And this knot is I learned it framing pictures from working in a frame shop, and that's what they put on everything. And here it is in real time. I'm going to take a length of wire that's about as wide as my hand, or as long as my hand is wide, and twist the tag end around the main line so that the end of the wire around the main part of the wire, I don't know what else to call it, but a tag and a main. You'll see it's the only part that I'm twisting. We get about 4 turns on that and bring the end through the loop. That secures it. I don't keep it from unraveling. And then to close off and clean up that knot, we'll just take what's left and secure it around the main wire as well. Maybe that's overkill, I don't know. But I can tell you it's not going to come off. And it looks good. The more care I put into my work, I think that translates to the people who own my work. Screw that down. And using a wire like that will allow you to sort of move that around. I can just put it on in the center, and if the weight of this saw somehow is a little off center, I can just kind of scoot it around and recenter it. It's not a big deal. Relevel it. And here I've got the steel wool, very fine steel wool. I think it's 4/0. Just kind of rubbing any of the dust off. We'll use denatured alcohol to pull all the dust out of here. And when that's dry, we'll just hit it with a little of this wipe on poly. It's a pretty heavy coat, and I'll just keep wiping it until it's mostly soaked in, most of it anyway. And the next day, a little more steel wool, a little more alcohol, and you can see I decided to move that mount a little bit lower. That way you can use I could use a longer hook. And these aren't typical hardware screws. I bought these from some particular supply house that sells hardware that looks more antique or more handmade. And you can see me fidgeting with the screw heads to make sure they're clocked in the same direction. I think that's important. There's that bigger hook. It's called a tremor hook. It has a little catch on it. Level it again, and here you go. And you can see the patina that the burning treatment and the oil give to that wood. It's not a plank from a hardware store. Looks good. Thanks for watching.